Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So you saw the tweet, didn't you? Saw it this morning. Michael Thomas on his Twitter. They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the story. There it is, a black box with white text. And the second I saw it, I thought, yeah, Sean Payton's going to trade him. Let me remind you, that's not an overreaction. Brandon Cooks, former first-round pick, was the Saints' leading receiver 2 of his first 3 years in the NFL, tweeted closed mouths don't get fed, and they summarily traded him. Junior Gillette had a massive contract after his breakout double-digit sack season, and they got rid of him. Jimmy Graham went through an ordeal over his franchise tag, and they traded him. Kenny Stills was a fifth-round pick who turned out to be a really good NFL receiver, just not a good locker room guy, and they traded him. So my point is, as we've talked about often here, Sean Payton values culture. It's what he did when he first took the job in New Orleans, when he ran off guys like Wayne Gandy and Dante Stallworth, entitled veterans, and he changed the culture. And after back-to-back-to-back 7 and 9 seasons, he did the same thing. He ran off a lot of guys that weren't fully bought into what they were doing. They recreated the culture around a group of young, talented players and established veterans like Drew Brees and Cameron Jordan. And they built an incredible run where the Saints won more games in the NFL than any team over that stretch. Didn't result in a Super Bowl, as we know, but Sean Payton values culture. And my fear in seeing this is that Sean Payton just isn't going to tolerate it and that they're going to trade Michael Thomas. Now, some of you today are probably looking at that and saying, awesome, trade Michael Thomas. He's a locker room cancer. Get rid of him. So I'm not exactly there. I will run through some of the numbers, but I want to give some background to all of this first. You probably saw over the weekend Jeff Duncan's story where, to summarize it, Michael Thomas basically avoided the Saints' calls for quite a while this offseason while they were trying to check in on him with his ankle. He showed up to minicamp, was out there, the mandatory minicamp, was out there practicing, but then it was still bothering him, and that's when they had the evaluation and decided on surgery. It jives with everything I've been told that story is true, that Michael Thomas essentially put Saints coaches and front office personnel on do not disturb while he was away. And it led to this. Now, to Michael Thomas's point where he said, he didn't tell his side of the story, there is another side of the story, which is, he was going to a surgeon outside of the state of Louisiana. And what did those conversations go like? What was he told? I mean, those are some things that are his part of the story that ultimately have to be told. And as I was informed, Michael Thomas had his surgery in Green Bay, as a matter of fact. So he's been, he was seeing doctors outside of the state. So what was his comfort level? All that has to be told. But listen, while that certainly is key information, it's also something that, it might just be circumstantial because it doesn't change the way Michael Thomas has handled the whole thing and how Sean Payton might react to it. So I also believe that you're talking about a guy who really, truly believed at 27 years old that his body would heal. That time in a boot, time away, off of it, that his body would heal, and it did. Clearly it didn't. He needed the procedure, and now they're in this awful situation. But it doesn't change the fact that putting that out on Twitter gave me this sinking feeling in my gut. And I know many of you are saying he's a prima donna because I've heard it all from you. He's also a guy that set the NFL record for receptions in a season just 2 years ago. And that in a transition from Drew Brees, I would really like to have that security blanket for my next quarterback. Jameis Winston this year, whoever it might be, short and long term. Now you start to look realistically at, okay, if you do try to move on from Michael Thomas, what does that look like and what can you get? For what it's worth, the 5-year, $96.25 million contract that Michael Thomas signed does have an out after the 2021 season. But it does carry a $22.7 million dead cap hit for New Orleans. The real question would be, would the Saints be willing to eat that amount of a cap hit to move on from Mike Thomas? Now, a big part of that question is what happens at quarterback. Remember, Jameis Winston's on a 1-year deal, so depending on how he performs this year will determine if he gets a long-term contract or if you're pursuing someone else and what that means against your cap. You also have other big decisions to make against the cap with respect to Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore and Teron Armstead and his future. So it's murky, and it's hard to justify swallowing that big of a cap number to have one of the best players in the league not on your roster. You have to be convinced you can't win with that guy. And I don't know that I believe that necessarily. The best case forward for the Saints and Michael Thomas is to heal that relationship and to heal his ankle and to have him be the best wide receiver in the NFL again for whoever your quarterback is. But if not, then you'd be looking at a potential deal. I'll remind you of the Brandon Cooks deal where he was a first-round pick who was your leading receiver twice, and you were able to send Brandon Cooks in the mid-round pick to New England for a first-rounder, which became it was a late one. It was the 32nd overall pick, which the Saints turned into Ryan Ramczyk. But if you really were going to deal Michael Thomas, you would be looking at eating that cap hit and thus looking to have affordable star players on rookie deals. So it's basically what they did in 2017 when you had that monster draft with Ramczyk and with Marshawn Lattimore and Michael Thomas, and you had all of these star players, Marcus Williams, you had all of these star players on rookie contracts, which allowed you the flexibility in free agency to go spend on veterans. They would have to replicate that, but in order to do that, you would have to have some of these young guys you've been waiting to step up actually flourish, and that's why this season is going to be so critical. It's also going to be critical just for Michael Thomas to get healthy, to get back, and hopefully play the second half of the season, be massively productive, and make that decision whether he stays or goes much more difficult. Because if he goes, then it increases his value. If he stays, even better, because you have a great receiver on your team that's going to be a huge asset. But, man, when I saw that tweet, I just had a pit in my stomach because I know how Sean Payton reacts to this type of stuff. It's what he's done all the time. Look, Sean Payton today, when he was meeting with the media, he was asked about the Michael Thomas tweet, and this is how Sean Payton reacted to the question about the tweet.
Look, we're focused on our guys, and obviously we're focused on Mike getting healthy. But outside of that, that's never been an issue. I don't want to have a press conference based on social media.
A none too happy head coach. We'll monitor. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.